Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Serge, and welcome to another episode of Search for the Truth. And our goal is to educate people, empower people to take in charge of their health problems in order for them to get the optimum health. And today, I'm really excited to have my following guest, Mr. Devin. We're going to talk about a really interesting topic, and that to me, like I said before, I think is the foundation of health. So we're going to talk about sleep issues, and what we need to do to optimize our sleep. So first of all, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing fantastic. I had a great night of sleep last night, so I came prepared today.
I hope so. That was a good point. So first of all, you wrote a book, which I'm going to put on the screen actually for people so they can see. So this is your book. You published it. So you have a passion for sleep issues. So can you tell us a little bit about you and why you are so passionate to help people with their sleep habits, sleep patterns?
Yeah, like you said, sleep's the foundation of health. I didn't know that. I took sleep for granted. Sleep is my superpower. A lot of people say, "Oh, you must have had really bad sleep problems," or like, "How did you get into this?" For me, I studied a lot of things: nutrition, exercise physiology, psychology, all these different things to try to live and feel good in my own body and in my own mind. And it wasn't until a client I was working with that had sleep issues asked me for help. And I looked into sleep, said, I don't really know that much about it, but let me look into it. And I started to study a little bit about the science of sleep. I started to look into the problems that people had with their sleep, what was available to people that were having these problems. And I was like, wow, not only is sleep, so much happen when we're asleep, but it's when we don't get sleep, it really affects every aspect of our lives. And I saw that with this client. And then I said, hey, well, let me dive deeper into how, to support this person. So I dove into the rabbit hole of sleep. And the more I learned, the more fascinated I got, because I realized that not only it really is, it's when you get great sleep, your mind works better, your body works better, you're more emotionally stable. There's so many things that happen when we get great sleep. And then I started to study my own sleep a little bit. And I said, well, I feel like I'm getting pretty good sleep. But when I started to actually look and measure and track it, I was like, oh, I actually could I could improve some things here. And so then I started to toy with my own sleep as well. And I noticed the effect on my own physical health and energy and vitality by doing these little habits changes. And I said, hey, this is something I want to continue to support people on and study myself. So it zooms up today what we do at Sleep Science Academy.
That's exciting. So when it comes to sleep, there's different phases, right? I'm going to put a chart on the screen so people can see. So we have these different cycles, right? So can you tell us a little bit what are those phases and what they are for? People are a little bit confused when it comes to the science or the foundation of sleep.
Yeah, I'll break it down really simple for people, and I like to use it a football analogy. So,
Okay.
there's 4 quarters in the night, right? So if you think about a quarter for sleep, we'll say is 90 minutes. And within 90 minutes, you go through several different cycles. Really, there's 2 phases of sleep. So there's REM and non-REM. And then there's a couple different stages within that. So there's light sleep. And then, so you could say stages 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 would be deep sleep or delta sleep. And then there's REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement or dream sleep. So every 90 minutes, we're going in and out of these different stages and different phases. And then we're cycling back through. So it's, if you're doing it right, you should be getting around, 4 to 5 90-minute cycles a night, depending on your chronotype, depending on, how much sleep you need, depending on your lifestyle, so many factors there. But throughout the night, we're just going in and out of these different brainwave states, and different things are happening in different stages. But it's this beautiful symphony that happens throughout the night in our brain and our bodies. And it's amazing. So the first quarter of the night, we get most of our deep sleep, or our delta sleep, between, usually it's 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. to about 2 a.m. That's when we're getting the first quarter, mostly our delta deep sleep. And then it's the fourth quarter where we get most of that juicy REM sleep, which is good for our brains. That's when, testosterone and growth hormone and all these things are being released. So first quarter of the night of the football game, it's deep sleep. Fourth quarter, it's REM sleep. So both are really important. Every stage is important. And that's what's going on, throughout the night.
Thank you for breaking down so easy. Sometimes I hear people that I dream and that means I got good sleep. Is that necessarily true? Because sometimes I hear people saying that, but they don't necessarily feel refreshed when they get up. So is there a
Yeah.
connection there?
So if you're dreaming, you are in a deep stage of sleep. You're in REM. But what happens is sometimes people don't realize they wake up maybe in a delta stage. So if you wake up, let's say you set your alarm because you have to get to work at 8 a.m. or something like that. So you're getting up at 6, you have an hour drive or whatever it is. Maybe that alarm clock is going off at a time when it's not optimal for you. So you're getting up, you're pulling your body out of this deep phase of sleep. And that's why you feel groggy. There's a lot of other reasons why somebody could wake up and not feel refreshed, but that's usually, I find, is one of the reasons is people wake up because they're using an alarm not at the optimal phase, if you will. And so then it's if you slept too long in a nap and you've woken up and you've had that groggy feeling, that's because you slept too long and you got into a deeper stage of sleep and then you woke up. So which phase you wake up in can make a difference on as far as your mental clarity and energy and grogginess and all that. But sleep quality is as important as sleep quantity, for sure.
Awesome. So I know back in the days, I remember my grandparents would tell me, you have to go to bed at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock max. There was no light out there. They would go to bed when it's dark. And I hear some people claiming that you need to go to bed fairly early in order to get the best sleep. So is there a connection there? Is there any science to support this? Or it doesn't really matter the time that you go to bed in order to get the best sleep?
Well, it really depends on your chronotype. So we all have a different chronotype, chronobiology. So there's, the night owls, the morning larks, there's a few in between there. And some people, can stay up later in the night, and that's actually good for them. And then there's other people that need to be in bed earlier. So depending on your lifestyle, depending on your genetics, depending on so many other factors should really determine when you should be going to bed and how much sleep you should be getting. But all that to say, ancestrally throughout the, 1,000 years ago, we used to go to bed when the sun went down, right? That's pretty much programmed in our biology. As the sun sets, certain chemicals start to be released, melatonin. Right. So melatonin starts to be released. That's the vampire hormone or the sleep hormone. And that starts to make us sleepy. So that naturally starts to happen as the sun sets. So that's telling us something, right? It's telling us that, okay, it's now time to start to prepare the mind and body for sleep. And, since the invention of the light bulb, since the invention of the iPad, the iPhone, Netflix. So that kind of window has got pushed back further and further, plus the artificial light, the blue light, which can create a problem for melatonin, blocking melatonin. But it's more so the hyper arousal that we get from TV and from social media and from things at night that is more of a problem than I think the blue light at this point.
I think this question has become pandemic out there. A lot of people, before going to bed, the last thing they do, they check their phone, they're on their iPads, they watch a show, and they don't sleep as well. And I do see this with people when they start cutting out the number of hours they use electronics at night, they tend to sleep better. So I think it makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think it's more so because of the hyper arousal that we get in the mentally versus really the blue light. Like blue light, for sure, there's science around, if you have blue light in your eyes, it does affect melatonin production. It kind of blunts that. And it makes sense because the sun has blue light in it. Blue light's not bad. We need it. It's good. It's just not optimal at certain times of the night, but really it's the hyperstimulation that happens. I think that really is what disturbs people's sleep.
Makes sense. So, and I will assume that you do agree with those blue light glasses, right? Those blockers or glasses that people use.
Yeah, I actually have a couple pairs here myself. I'll give you a little. We can try a few pairs on. So here's one pair, and then here's my super blue light blocking glasses. They look kind of
wow, these are
Bono-ish. So yeah, I mean, I use them. I think they're for sure. It's a small lever. It's not going to make the difference in someone's sleep, but it can help with quality of sleep for sure.
So at the end of the day, why do people have issues with sleep? What are the major problems that people have?
Yeah, from what I see and from all the things I've studied and learned, it really comes down to stress. So what people do is they take their day into their night. So they take all the day's stresses, the worries about the job, the family, the finances, the health, and they bring that right into bed with them. And
Yeah.
then the body's it's in a sympathetic state. I think, your mind doesn't know the difference of being chased down the Serengeti by a lion, or, in your mind, you're thinking about these things that kind of create this in the body. So cortisol, adrenaline, all these things start to really all day. They're dripping out, and that's what creates issues, because the body can't shift back into that parasympathetic rest and digest state. So stress, the short answer is stress. The modern day stresses are what are creating the most sleep issues for people.
I agree with you. I can see that, especially the last couple of years, people have been more stressed, exhausted, they're burnout, and they go home, they are busy with their life. And one of the things that I see with people is they will say, I don't have enough hours in a day, right? So they cut short in their sleep hours, and that's another concern, right? So they're stressed out, they don't sleep enough in order to restore their hormonal system back to a normal function.
Yeah. And stress and sleep are bidirectionally linked. So the more stress you experience, the less rest you experience. The less rest you experience, the more stress you experience.
Yeah.
So there's this bidirectional play that happens, and it really getting off that cycle, or learning how, getting proper support and tools to retrain that stress switch to switch off is really critical, especially with, what's going on in the world. On top of all the stress of life, thinking about trying to find your purpose and family and all this stuff. Now we have this whole other thing called the pandemic on top of all of that, which is just taking people right to the edge of their threshold and shifting them into that, really stressed state all the time.
Exactly. So how do you handle that? What do you recommend to people to turn off the stress switch?
Yeah, so there's a lot of techniques and tools. Some of the ones that we use very effectively at Sleep Science Academy to help our clients is we pull from a few places. So one, mindfulness. Mindfulness is an incredible practice to help train your mind to recognize, the thoughts that are creating the stresses in the body. So understanding your thoughts and your psychology using mindfulness is really powerful. Another place we pull from is ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. So giving people the tools and the training to accept and actually embody acceptance versus being in resistance to what's happening. And oftentimes that's what we're trained to be, in this sort of state of trying to change things that we can't change, which creates more stress. So when you can learn how to shift into acceptance, when you can learn a little bit about your psychology, about the thoughts that create the fear and the doubt and the worry within the body, and then you can start to shift out of those through tools like breath work, through tools like exercise, and really just getting, journaling. There's so many tools. But first and foremost, you have to create the awareness, because without the awareness, all of these tools are not effective. And awareness gets created best through mindfulness.
Yes, I agree with you. You have to be aware first of what's going on in order to do something.
Yes. You can't just skip right to the something, which a lot of people try to do. They're like, oh, I'm just going to use this technique. And, well, let's understand how you're thinking and what, some of the psychology that's creating this stress state. And we always have two options. We can change how we think, or we can change what we do, or we can change both. And knowing when to change how you think about something and knowing when to change what you're doing about something, that's an art. And oftentimes it takes support to really understand when and how to do that.
And I think this can be tied into what we talked a few minutes ago about electronics. People spend time on social media before going to bed, so that really stressed them out. I think that's a habit to do. Try not to for a couple of hours before going to bed. I was reading on sleep, and I was surprised to find out that melatonin is one of the supplements the most sold in the US. It would make sense to me. People don't sleep, they're looking for answers and so on. So do you agree to supplement with melatonin to help with sleep, or the body becomes dependent on it, or it has side effects and so on?
Yeah, so melatonin is a hormone. It's regulated in the EU, but over here in the United States, we can just go and we can just get it,
Yeah.
and oftentimes there's actually not a lot of evidence that supports that melatonin helps improve sleep. That being said, melatonin, there is some evidence that melatonin is an incredible antioxidant and can be
Yeah.
used for other things, but not so much for sleep. And so, our body naturally produces melatonin. Most of the supplements that are out there have way too much melatonin in it. And if you're using it for sleep specifically, there's not a lot of evidence that supports that it's actually helping. But again, I think melatonin, there is a place for melatonin. I think it's a fantastic antioxidant. It can be really amazing for our health when used in the right ways. But for sleep, there's a lot better tools, even from a supplement standpoint, that I found to be way more effective, that have a little bit more research behind it.
So yes, this is a really interesting point because this is what I read as well, is melatonin doesn't seem to improve sleep, but it could improve or lower your stress hormone in the body, which
Yeah.
makes sense based on what you said. So if your stress hormone is lower, you sleep better. So melatonin might have something to do with sleep at some degree. So what are the other supplements or herbs or products would you recommend instead of melatonin to improve our sleep quality?
Yeah. So there's a whole chapter on this in my book, The Sleep Advantage. I can share a few that I found effective and that I personally like. One of them is very popular. It's cannabidiol, or CBD, as it's known on the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the non-psychoactive constituent in marijuana. And so the challenge is with any supplement is really making sure that you get something that's quality, that has what it says it has in it. And that's the challenge. A lot of people go and they'll buy a product, and the product is just, it's not what it says it is. It wasn't grown and stored properly or processed properly. So the active constituents aren't there. So then they try it and it doesn't work for them, or sometimes it actually can be harmful if you don't use it in the proper ways. So quality is really important when you talk about supplements, but CBD, cannabidiol, has been found to help with inflammation, has been found to really, there's some interesting science around what it does for cancer, for stress, for pain. So it really is for anxiety, which are all things that keep people up. So if you get a good quality CBD product, it can be very helpful. There's other products out there like GABA, L-theanine. So you can play with the amino acids a little bit. They can be helpful for sure. And then if you want to go the herbal route, there's kava from the Polynesian Islands. It's more of a natural sedative, or valerian root, which is also a natural sedative. Again, it really comes down to the quality. So there's a lot of things you can experiment with. Magnesium has been found to be helpful. Again, it's good for our health regardless of if it's helping us sleep. There's different forms of magnesium, L-theanate, citrate. There's a few others. So really it's I think when it comes to supplementation, people, it's a very small lever. There's so many other things that you could do that would make a much bigger impact on your sleep than just taking a supplement. But of course, everyone's looking for that silver bullet. Give me I just want to take a pill and sleep better. So I think that's usually like a last area, finer tinkering with sleep. I want to make sure that everyone understands that. It's very important.
Yeah, you're right. People are so busy these days. They're looking for a quick fix. You won't take a pill. I mean, that's the mentality, right? That's how we were trained. And this is a question that I get a lot from people: is they go see the doctor, they are put a sleeping pill, they sleep amazing, right? But they become dependent on this. They want to stop the sleeping pill. They want to fix the problem. So how would you go about this? I understand you're not a medical doctor. You're not here to give medical advice. But how would you treat or help somebody who has been dependent on sleeping pill? How would you go about that? A diet regimen or exercise regimen and so on?
Great question. A lot of times our clients, and we support people all over the country that have tried everything and can't sleep. And oftentimes they are on heavy medication, benzos, they're on sedatives, they're on all kinds of stuff, sometimes antidepressants, anti-anxiety. And so I am not a doctor, so it's not medical advice, but most doctors, what they recommend is titrating off slowly a medication. And what we do is, while a client's titrating off their medication with their doctor's advice, we are giving them the tools to address the underlying root issues, which are usually based in stress and anxiety. So there are things you can do to help sort of detox the body from these chemicals. And in that, exercising, sauna. There's some interesting evidence that are, NDA. It's a new sort of longevity constituent that's been found to help some people, kind of clear out the systems, the cells of these drugs. And there's a time and a place for drugs, for sure, medicine. Oftentimes it gets people, like you said, rely on it. And if you're relying on something, that becomes that's dangerous, because really sleep is a natural biological process that happens when you allow it to happen, when you remove the barriers to it happening versus putting a Band-Aid on it. So giving people the lifestyle support as well as the psychological support is really critical as they start to titrate off the medication, because there usually is a rebound. People, when you start to come off medication, your sleep is going to probably get worse. And if you don't have the support and the tools, then oftentimes you just get back on it, or you get back on something else, and then you're stuck. And then you're kind of on this cycle of, okay, you're kind of stuck on it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's unfortunately what I see as well, right? Those meds can really cause like deficiencies in B vitamins. It can impact your melatonin productions, your gut, your adrenals. I mean, there's so many side effects. Like you said, there's a time for that, but these were good tips actually to help people. We have a question from Miss Jennifer. She's asking about infrared sauna. Yay or nay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge infrared sauna guy for a lot of reasons. So detoxifying the body. I mean, it's what's good for your health is also good for your sleep. And so with sleep too, specifically, there's two things that control sleep. There's body temperature, right? And then there's light. So sauna therapy can be helpful for regulating body temperature when you use it the right way.
Awesome. So do you agree with those, Fitbit and Apple Watches, all the electronics that people wear to monitor their sleep patterns? Because my understanding is those devices do emit some type of radiation. So do they impact your sleep quality?
Yeah, so we use a device called the Oura Ring, and I believe that you manage what you measure and you can master what you manage. And so we use the Oura Ring. It is, it has an airplane mode. The EMFs from some of these devices are minimal. They're much less than your phone.
I see.
But EMFs is a real thing. People think this is like a woo, like, oh, EMFs. No, EMFs are real. There's actually a lot of studies that show EMFs impact the body. So, it's not. I don't think it's super detrimental if you're wearing an iWatch or a Fitbit or a Whoop strap or something. I think it's actually a good thing if you have the proper support and tools to know what to do with the data. Because I found that people that measure their sleep, and it just keeps confirming that they got bad sleep, and they're trying these things they read on the internet and nothing's working, then it reinforces the belief that they're going to have to deal with this the rest of their life. That creates anxiety, stress, worse sleep, and then they end up calling me and I'm able to help them out. So.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of it is a mind thing, right? So it can create a lot of stress in the body. What about fasting? Is fasting a good tool to help sleeping better? Like not eating at night or not eating too late, for example?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you really want a 3 to 4 hour window between anything that crosses your lips, except for water, and your sleep. And the reason for that is because of the first quarter of the night, that's when we're getting all our delta deep sleep. And your body's repairing physically during that stage of sleep. So you don't want all the blood rushing to your stomach to digest food. I've experimented with this a lot, and it absolutely gets in the way of deep sleep. And so as far as fasting in general, like, having a fast or intermittent fasting, that can be harmful if your body's in already a stress state, because it's a stress on the body. And so what I found, if people are going to do like a 3-day water fast or something like that for longevity, and they're not sleeping, that's usually not a good thing, because the body is already stressed. Now you're putting another stressor on top of it, and that usually doesn't pan out well.
Good point. And at the beginning of the show, we talked about how sleep is the foundation of health. And this is so true when it comes to weight loss, for example. A lot of people that I see try to lose weight, and it boils down to a bad sleeping habit.
Yeah.
So what's the connection there?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. So we'll start with sort of the hormone connection. So ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hormone that creates us feeling hungry. Leptin is the hormone that signals our body that we're full. Those hormones get all out of whack when we're not sleeping or not getting enough sleep. So we're more hungry. We crave fat and sugar. So we eat more, and the sedative, the satiety hormone, leptin, it's not single. So we don't know when we're full. So not only are we more hungry and we crave the wrong foods, we eat more and we don't know when to stop eating. So that's first and foremost, that one. Then there's cortisol, which is a fat storing hormone, a stress hormone that gets spiked. And that's why we hold on. Your body thinks it needs to hold on to the calories and the fat and stores it around the stomach because it thinks it needs to, because it's in a stress state. So really, it does play a huge factor. Weight loss, if you're not losing weight and you're eating good foods and you're moving your body and your sleep's off, that is the biggest reason for sure.
And connected to that, a lot of people who try to lose weight or have weight problems do have sleep apnea as well. So what would you recommend with people with sleep apnea?
Yeah, so sleep apnea for sure is a big problem. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of great solutions for that. The main reason most people have sleep apnea is because they're overweight. So losing some weight for sure. If it's obstructive sleep apnea, so meaning like your tongue is sliding back into your throat, there actually is a really cool device, and I'm very excited about it. I'm actually, after this interview, I'm going to meet the chief scientific officer at a Starbucks to try this device. And it's electrostim. It's like an e-stim that strengthens the muscle underneath your tongue so that it doesn't slide back into your throat and cause a stop breathing event. It's been found to be really effective for mild sleep apnea, as well as for drastically helping people that snore. So I'm going to go and try this. I always try things before I recommend them, but I'll get preliminary. It sounds science is showing that this is a industry disruptor, and I'm excited to try it out. So yeah.
Let me know how it goes. I'm really curious as well, because like you said, sleep apnea is a big problem on that.
Yeah.
So as concluding remarks, what would be the optimal sleep habits for people to really get into the daily routine?
Yeah, so a great night of sleep starts as soon as you wake up. So what you do throughout the entire day is going to dictate how well you sleep at night. So, and again, what's good for your health is also good for your sleep. So moving your body, exercising, managing your stress, drinking water, and most importantly, not taking your stresses into the night. So I like to, in my book, I have a lot of strategies and tools around this, but one of them is called a bed buffer. So creating a clear break between your day and your night, and then having a nighttime routine is really helpful. So something that's like a wind down routine. And I call it a 3-2-1. 3 hours before bed, no food. 2 hours before bed, no work. 1 hour before bed, no electronics, no stimulation. Just start to read, stretch, make love to your bed partner. Do something relaxing that doesn't involve hyper-stimulating your brain.
Wow, I've never heard of this. It makes a lot of sense, actually. So you guys, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Devin. I have his website running across the screen, his Facebook page, actually. And like I said at the beginning, he did write a book, really amazing book. Actually, I recommend the book to everybody who has sleep problem. Even if you believe you have a good sleep habit, it's good information just to get. How can people reach out to you besides the Facebook? Is that the best way?
Actually, the best way is probably on the website, Sleep Science Academy. If you have insomnia and you're looking for support, that's absolutely the best way. Instagram, Devin Burke Wellness. I am actually not that active on social media, believe it or not. I put out a lot of content on YouTube, but I don't check my social media. So if you do ask me a question, it might be a couple days for me to get back to you. Just putting that out there. But yeah, Devin Burke Wellness, all the social channels, and then sleepscienceacademy.com for people that are looking for support.
Awesome. I really appreciate your time to spend with us, and thank you for all the information when it comes to sleep. I really think my audience appreciated that. So thank you for your time, and let me know about this device. I'm really curious.
Yes, I'll keep you posted. Doc. And I'm glad to be here and share this message, because a lot of people need the support right now.
And good luck to share this message because people need to sleep better.
Oh, thank you. I'm not going to stop. So
Awesome. Good job. Thank you. Have a good
thank
day.
you. Thanks. Take care.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.